My name is Jeff Davis. I'm president of Minnesota Majority. Today we are announcing that we are filing a formal complaint with the United States Department of Justice requesting an investigation into irregularities in Minnesota's election system. Our review by Minnesota Majority prior to the election found a number of irregularities in voter registration records that have failed to be adequately explained by election officials. Our requests for action, both of the Secretary of State and 30 officials in 30 different counties, has either gone unanswered or has been largely dismissive in the response that we've received. It is our belief that the Secretary of State is in violation of the Help America Vote Act, which calls for certain verifications of voter registration rolls. We are calling for a formal investigation similar to that was recently completed in the state of Wisconsin. There, a joint task force consisting of the U.S. Attorney, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the County Attorney, and the Milwaukee Police Department was organized to investigate voting irregularities within that state, and they found problems that are strikingly similar to those that we're finding in voter registration rolls. The exhibit to my right here outlines some of their findings and some of their conclusions. One of their major findings was widespread record-keeping failure, which made it impossible for them to investigate, let alone prosecute, voter fraud in that state. As one of the investigators mentioned, you can't prove a bank embezzlement if the bank does not know how much money it had in the first place. Today, we are also announcing the launch of a petition, a citizen's petition calling for a formal investigation and reforms in Minnesota's election laws. The petition is available online for signature at electionintegritypetition.com. We are proposing reforms that include the presentation of a photo ID when voting, requiring an annual audit of voter registration records, and the elimination of same-day registrations. 24 states now require some form of official identification in order for people to vote. Today, you need a photo ID to cash a check, board an airplane, purchase alcoholic beverages, and even use a credit card. Requiring a photo ID is simply common sense. In regards to same-day registrations, the Wisconsin task force that I mentioned earlier said more than any other single recommendation that they could make, the one thing that could eliminate a large percentage of fraud or the perception of fraud was the elimination of same-day registrations. We believe our current election system is making a mockery of eligible voters who try to follow the letter and spirit of the law. In doing so, the system is disenfranchising legitimate voters. We have 4 basic principles as we consider what should be in our election laws. Number 1, everyone who is legally eligible to vote should do so. It's a civic responsibility. Number 2, no one should be allowed to cast a ballot until their legal eligibility to do so has been verified. This is just plain common sense. Minnesota doesn't allow a bar owner to serve alcohol to someone until they confirm that they are of legal drinking age using a photographic ID. Number 3, all voters should have equal protection under the law. Today's law is socially unjust. It treats same-day registrants differently than those who register in advance of the election. And number 4, accurate record keeping and consistently applied procedures are critical to ensuring the integrity of our election system. Minnesota citizens can't have trust in an election system if it has widespread record keeping failures or inconsistently applied policies and procedures. The Coleman-Franken recount, which begins tomorrow, underscores the importance of these principles. The security and scrutiny around the recount of ballots looks like Fort Knox, but the lax controls in our voter registration process, we will never actually know whether or not the ballots that are being counted were actually cast by legal eligible voters. And with that, I'd like to ask Colonel Joe Repia to speak.
Thank you. I'd like to extend my appreciation to the Minnesota Majority for allowing me to be here. I view this as a nonpartisan issue for veterans. I don't care if you're independent, Republican, or Democrat. We all want fair elections. Minnesota veterans have shed their blood protecting our liberties and including that, our right to vote. It is critically important that our election system have the complete confidence of the American people. As a concerned veteran, I have witnessed other countries where elections were stolen by corrupt officials. As a concerned veteran, I want to see that that does not happen here in Minnesota. As a concerned veteran, I call upon Minnesota State Legislature to adopt the changes recommended by the Election Integrity Partition. And I support the investigations into allegations of irregularities by our election process. Minnesota's veterans and Minnesotans serving in our military overseas deserve to have the confidence that our election system is of the highest integrity and beyond question. And I thank you very much.
And I know that because of the loose regulations in Minnesota voting, it has diminished the value of my vote. I am a concerned citizen who was taught by my father the value of voting. He also taught me integrity and, again, the value of voting long before I was even able to do so. And I know that without the necessary requirements, that it's going to diminish the struggles and sacrifices my family went through in order to gain the right to vote. And so we must restore this integrity that we have in voting by implementing photo ID. Thanks a lot.
The misinformation out there against voter ID is being pushed based on how it's going to affect minorities and low-income families. And all these allegations are simply not true. As a concerned citizen, I feel that my vote, my neighbor's vote, need to be more than ever protected against any voting irregularities. I lived in a situation where I was in poverty. My family actually was homeless for a period of time. When my mother and my family had the opportunity, they took upon it the responsibility to put their vote, to cast their vote, and there was nothing stopping us from doing so. When it came to people living in the same situations, they voted when their responsibility was coming to held to as well. No one was telling them they can't vote based on economic situation or minority status. The misinformation that's being pushed by these groups against voter ID actually does more to create a alienation, distrust, and preemptive discrimination against folks who want to vote but feel that vote's not going to be casted. For us to get to the point where everyone's vote is going to be counted equally, we have to ensure there's a system in place that one vote, one person gets counted, regardless of where you come from on the ladder. And that's why I feel and I support voter ID. Thank you.
Good job.
We're going to have, I guess there's a few people that are going to be demonstrating out here in front of the Secretary of State's office, so you're free to